Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 369. This episode of What's Right with Nick Wright is presented to you, as always, by Boost Mobile. Damonza, great to see you. We're going to get right to straight to voicemail because we have so much to get to today. Straight to voicemail brought to you, of course, by our great friends at Boost Mobile. This is dope. Shout out Harry Styles. He ran a marathon, did it in under 3 hours, did it under a fake name, and in, costume's the wrong word, but, incognito. I think that's super sick. Speaking of marathons, I turned 41 in 10 days and said I was going to do a triathlon before I turned 41. I think I'm going to fail on that little self-improvement commitment. Fell a little shy of the swimming and running training. The biking portion I'm good for, but I maybe before I'm 42. So that was something I really thought I was going to do, and then I didn't do. Syracuse fined for faking injuries in a win versus Clemson. Doesn't matter. We beat Clemson. Syracuse can pay for it. And in, news that sucks, and you just feel like this team is snake bitten, Nicky Bosa tears his ACL. And the Niners seem, Damonza, to either be the healthiest, deepest team in the league going into a deep playoff run, or just ravaged by injury before we even get to October, with no in-between. Just every year it feels like that. And so that's a tough one for Nick Bosa. I don't know if any team could feel worse about a 3-0 start than these Niners, given all those injuries. Also, before we get to the news of last night, which was the Baltimore Ravens losing to the Detroit Lions in what I consider a little demoralizing fashion. Before we get to that, a reminder for everyone, like, rate, subscribe, review. Now, I'm not calling anyone out here. I want to make this very clear. However, my little competitive nature, my back has gotten up a bit because I've noticed popping up along the landscape new shows or shows similar to this podcast, YouTube, whatever, that are out of nowhere. And before they even start, they've got hundreds of thousands and in some cases millions of subscribers. I'm like, how the hell does that happen? And then I realized, these folks are transferring or buying or starting, you know what I mean? It's the podcast version of being born on third base, and the world thinks you hit a triple. Damonza, we grew this from the dirt, from 0 subscribers. And I don't know where and I was very, very happy with our, whatever we have, whatever our numbers are, few 100,000. But then I see folks starting out of nowhere with millions. And now I feel like I really need you guys to like, rate, subscribe, review. I really, because...
Please, folks, you got 219,000.
219,000. So that's pretty good for a show that started initially with you setting up the cameras in our house, and then you co-hosting and also setting up the cameras in your mom's store. And now it's a full-grown business, but still, I'd love, so please, and on iTunes and Spotify, subscribe, and on YouTube, get the alert, subscribe, give us 5 stars, all of that. All right, Damonza, tough night for your Baltimore Ravens, and take us through it before we get to it.
So last night, my Baltimore Ravens, we coughed up another one. Lamar was running for his life. Derrick Henry with another costly fumble. Detroit came back on the next drive, converted on 4th, got a touchdown. So we did it for your team. So we should do it for my team too. Should I be worried about my Ravens with how everything's going at the moment?
So I'm glad I'm glad you put it in that context. We did it for the Chiefs for being 0-2 and now 1-2. Should we do it for Baltimore? And it is a very interesting test of sports media today and who has and has not earned benefits of the doubt. Because I, silly me, Chiefs homer, lifelong Kansas Cityan, got a tattoo about the team. Silly me. I would have thought that a team that has been to 7 consecutive conference championship games, been to 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls, won 3 of the last 6 Super Bowls, and been to 3 straight, that if any team would have earned a benefit of the doubt for sputtering out of the gates, it would be the Chiefs. But I was wrong. It was a lot of talk about how systemically the team may be broken, about Patrick not being as good as he once was, Andy's play design not being as creative as it once was, and about how this team just isn't scary anymore. And, an that we'll get to in a minute, win over the New York Giants, didn't exactly quiet that for most people. We'll get to my thoughts on it in a second. And the tackle that turned the tide. Trademark, as Kevin Wildes would say. I wonder how folks are going to discuss the Baltimore Ravens now that they are 1-2, with the one victory being an uninspiring one over the Cleveland Browns. Now that the Baltimore Ravens, who the benefit of the doubt that they have earned is being to 0 consecutive Super Bowls, 0 in the last decade, 1 conference championship game appearance. If we are going to look at the Baltimore Ravens defense with the same critical eye that we have looked at the Kansas City Chiefs offense, a Baltimore Ravens defense that ultimately last year was not good enough, that up to this point this year has been downright awful. A Baltimore Ravens team that on top of that seems to situationally not be the most buttoned up in football, and a Baltimore Ravens team that all of a sudden, second best player, seems to have an odd fumbling problem. Now, I don't know if you agree with me or not on this, Damonza. I do not think that game was lost on the Derrick Henry fumble. I think that that game was lost on the Ravens' entire inability to get us to stop Detroit from doing whatever they wanted on the ground.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the 2 95-plus yard drives of Detroit just running it down their throat, to me, was a flashing red light of concern. And it is, it's kind of perfect that, the Chiefs and the Ravens now play each other on Sunday, because one of these teams is going to be 0-3 with 3 losses to the 3 legitimate teams they faced. And the other team's going to be 2-2 and have steadied the ship. And we'll talk obviously more about that game on Thursday and Friday's show.
Do you think that it could... yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
We'll talk about it more.
Ahead.
I was going to say, what do you think with Kansas City winning and Baltimore coming off this loss, that it's a bad scenario for the Chiefs? Could be a potential trap game?
Well, no. I blame Wildes for this, not you. No, nobody seems to understand what trap game means anymore. Trap game, you're talking about maybe a letdown spot or something. Trap game is so let's say the Chiefs had been 2-0 going into the Giants game with the Ravens coming up the following week. Then the Giants are a trap game. Trap game is team flying high facing a bad opponent with a good opponent coming up. Trap game, perfect example. Trap game is what the Packers just dealt with.
Yeah, the Browns.
Looking great. Have the Cowboys, kind of not revenge, but a big Micah game coming up. And then the Browns beat them. That's a trap game. The Chiefs playing the Ravens, not a trap game. It is what you're talking about is the Ravens all of a sudden potentially more desperate coming off the loss. But desperation is, accounts for something. Whether or not this team is quite as good as everyone assigned them as being is something else. And so let's talk about the actual game itself. So the Ravens defense was disastrous start to finish. Now, they didn't have Nnamdi Madubuike, but I don't know when they're getting him back. They didn't have Kyle Van Noy, but I don't know when they're getting him back. And Roquan Smith was not good. Historically, he's been excellent. Last year was a little shaky. Last night, he was not good. Obviously, folks are going to focus on the Derrick Henry fumble. I want to talk about Lamar for a second. And again, I texted this to Greg Rosenthal this morning about alleged, because Greg said he didn't want to be lumped in with the, quote, Lamar haters. And I texted Greg. I was like, the Lamar haters group is just Bill Polian from a decade ago in a draft evaluation, and I guess me. Because everyone else in the media is in pretty much lockstep that this guy is simply unimpeachably great and one of the greatest players we've ever seen. And while I do think he's one of the greatest players we've ever seen, I think last night he was not quite as good as the numbers suggest, and let me tell you why. Now, not just because I don't really care about the final 80 yards and touchdown when they were down 14 with less than 2 minutes left. That's not what I'm talking about. Even before that, like, he started the game 9 of 10. His passer rating was crazy. He was making some really good passes. There are two things last night that I feel are not one-offs that if I were a Raven fan would be concerning. One is Lamar's refusal to throw the ball away and his hesitation to just take off and run. And those two things combining to him being sacked 7 times is just a killer. Like, he was great when he threw the ball, but he needed to throw the ball a little more or a little quicker or take off and run. Those sacks were drive killers time and time again. So that's the kind of meat and potatoes.
With it being that crazy and it being 7 sacks, that's something that'll get corrected pretty fast.
Yes, I would think so. But it was, the concern there is it wasn't corrected during the game.
Yeah.
It was 5 sacks, when they were still in the game. And still on that last drive before the drive when they punted with like 6 minutes left. He got sacked once there, and then another one he ran, but it was essentially a sack.
Right, he gained like 2 yards, but they stopped.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the other one. And I'm just curious if other people noticed it. Man, he seemed to be wound tight from the opening snap.
He was pissed off the whole game. Yeah, he was tilted the entire time. I saw it. I don't know what it was. It was like very simple stuff in the beginning.
So weird that the first drive of the game that they didn't score, I don't know which drive it was, but the first time they went 3 and out, his like body language and emotions are really
seemed like something had been going on.
He just seemed wound tight. Yeah. And that is, we have seen that Lamar a handful of times before. It, unfortunately for him, more often than not, is in the playoffs, where like early in the game, you're like, oh, he is anxious about this spot. But they were coming off a win. Like that, I didn't really get it. Why? The last time they played Detroit, they annihilated them. He has a hilarious record in his career against NFC teams. I'm going to pull it up real quick because it now obvious. I think it was like 23-1.
Oh.
Say it again.
Okay, I thought at this point he has like 4 losses total from the NFC. It might be less than that, apparently.
I think it's less,
2?
bro. So Lamar. No, you were right. You nailed it. So going into last night, he was 24-4 against the NFC with 48 touchdowns, 9 picks, and like a 108 rating. I think maybe he had at some point won like 20 straight or something. Whatever it was, he had a ridiculous record against the NFC. They annihilated the Lions the last time they played him. They had just come off a win, and the offense had been great in both games. Or they scored 40 points in both games. It was just a weird spot for him to be wound tight immediately. And those things concern me, man. So here is the, I think, fair read, given everything I've said about the Chiefs being fine, about where the Ravens are, as they now both sit at 1-2. It is hard. Like, either the Chiefs or the Ravens are going to be 1-3 Sunday night. It will still be so hard to find 7 AFC playoff teams without including both of the Chiefs and the Ravens. And here's why. The Bills are 3-0, they're excellent. The Chargers are 3-0, they're excellent. Okay? Here is the entire list of teams other than Bills and Chargers in the AFC that currently have a better record than the Ravens and Chiefs at 1-2. We're at 2 teams. The Colts, who are 3-0, who look excellent, but I think there is still a little bit of waiting for the bottom to fall out. And then there are only 3 other teams, and they all feel totally fraudulent.
Okay.
The Cincinnati Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals, who don't have their quarterback. The Steelers, who are not good, flatly not good, and I worry. Preview to Nick's picks. I cannot wait to be on the Vikings this weekend as they play a London or a Ireland game, and that defense going after Aaron Rodgers. And then the Jags, I have not been pleased with how the Jags have played through 3 weeks. That's it. Right? And I know it's the playoffs obviously don't start today. If the playoffs started today, the AFC would have a 1-2 playoff team. Like, one of the 1-2 teams would make it. So I will not say that the Ravens at 1-2 or even at 1-3 should panic as far as making the playoffs. What I will say is, one of the reasons I have this confidence about the Chiefs is, for nearly a decade now, every single year, they play their best ball in the postseason. Home or road, no, they play their best ball in the postseason, particularly the AFC side of the bracket. Haven't obviously always played their best ball in the Super Bowl, but in the postseason they have, or in the AFC side of the bracket they have. The Ravens are the opposite. And I think that the defense last year looked hugely problematic and then turned it around at midseason. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that again. And so
Lions
they are
also
still
very potent. Like, this is a good offensive. I don't want to call them offensive juggernaut, but damn near. Like, it's a pretty good team.
No.
They're gonna do some stuff to you. But like, obviously you're one of the better teams. You got to be able to beat the good teams.
Correct.
Yeah,
right. It's the Ravens are trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They're going to have to go through the Bills, Kansas City, the Chargers, just to get to whomever is in the other side of the bracket. And if you were to tell me right now, honestly, if you have an all-time legend at quarterback, like the Chiefs and the Ravens both do, what would you rather, if you're going to have one part of your team really be struggling? early in the season? What would you rather it be? Me personally, I'd rather it be the side of the ball that my all-time legend can help correct. So, like, if you're Kansas City, the offense has not looked good, but Patrick is directly involved in that and has months to figure it out. If you're Baltimore, the defense has looked awful. Lamar's on the sidelines for that. And so that to me is legitimate reason for concern. All right, let's talk the Lions side real quick, Damonza.
Oh, so yeah, they struggled in week 1 versus Green Bay, but they've been humming ever since. They are 5th in Super Bowl odds. Do you think that's too high, too low, or just right?
I don't mind it. I listen, I've been really impressed by how they've responded to that week 1 performance. And last week putting 50 on the Bears, and this week, I mean, they've scored what? 90 points in their last 2 games? After having 6 points going in late in week 1. Really impressive. And Dan Campbell's game management is excellent. That going for that 4th down was objectively the right call, and a call a lot of teams up 7 wouldn't have done. And he is doing a lot to push towards we'll be fine without Ben Johnson. So, the Lions look really, really good. Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. New customers can place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you get not only your winnings, but also $150 in bonus bets. Here's what I like about the Hard Rock Bet app. It's a sportsbook app, but they give you just crazy stats right there in the app in the Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub. And they actually show you what everyone else is betting. So if it's a Tuesday like today and you don't know what to bet, open up the app. You can see trending parlays, most bet player props, the most bet upsets, and more. This week is a special week because the baseball postseason is almost here. Last chance for teams to punch their ticket to the postseason. Every day this week on Hard Rock Bet, you can get a profit boost for a baseball parlay. Boost a 4-leg parlay so your bet pays extra. So your bet pays extra winnings. Take your swing. There's new promos every day. So if you're listening to this later, just open the app and check out what you've got any day of the week. Download Hard Rock Bet and make your first deposit. All right, Damonza, let's get to the Chiefs saving their season, please.
All right, yeah. So as we all know, your Chiefs got their first victory against the Giants this year, and you're already back on the never a doubt train with your tweets. Yeah, so Vegas isn't buying into their hype though. They've got them as home dogs to my Ravens this Sunday at -3. So what are you seeing different about the Chiefs that Vegas is not?
Well, listen, I'm not going to act like the Chiefs looked great Sunday night against the Giants. They obviously didn't. So then that first half was horrifying. The first half was really, truly awful. So let me talk. What I do think, though, and I told this story on the TV show, I'm going to tell it again here, because having an encyclopedic memory about the Patrick Mahomes era for the Kansas City Chiefs can pay dividends. And so let me tell you guys a quick story. In 2020, the Chiefs were the defending champions, went back to the Super Bowl, and got blasted by Tampa Bay. The next year, not only did they start out 3-4, but Mahomes had the first real slump of his career. This is with Kelsey. This is with Tyreek. They get blown out by Buffalo. They get blown out by Tennessee. They then play the Giants and need a field goal with a minute left to beat an eventually 4-win Joe Judge Giants team to get to 3-4. The very next week, they play the Packers in the game Aaron Rodgers can't play in because of, that's how we found out he didn't have the COVID vaccine, because he was on the COVID list. And Jordan Love in his first career start comes to town, and it's one of the ugliest games ever. And with 2 minutes left, it is 13-7 Kansas City, And Mahomes has played terribly. Okay? And it is 3rd and 10, and a first down wins the game, and they don't get a first down, and they could lose outright and fall to 3 and 5. And Patrick, play breaks down, Patrick scrambles to his right, off one leg, zips in a laser down the sideline to ice the game. And I went on TV the next day and said, I believe that's the moment Patrick snapped out of his funk. I believe that is the moment that the Chiefs will be the Chiefs again. And the rest of the season, they lost one time and made it to the AFC Championship game where they did lose to the Cincinnati Bengals. But the rest of it, from that moment forward, they were as good as any team in football. This year, they get blown out in the Super Bowl. They look terrible through 2 weeks. They are playing the New York Giants. It is a tie game approaching halftime. Patrick attempts a swing past Isaiah Pacheco, who runs in the wrong direction. The ball is live. It is about to be Giants 13-6, and the Chiefs are going to be in dire straits. And Patrick Mahomes runs down the Giants player who's about to scoop and score, takes the ball back from him, steadies the team, and from that moment forward in that game was Patrick Mahomes again. I do think we are going to look back on that moment as the moment the Chiefs steadied themselves. Now, are they going to be prolific, dynamic, dominant off the bat? No, I don't think so. I think it's going to, Xavier will be back this week. Rice will be back in 3. Yeah.
For sure? Oh, okay.
I'm telling everybody Xavier's going to be back this week.
My bad.
No, you don't have to. No,
Yeah.
Not your bad. You are correct in that it has not been reported.
Publicized yet, right?
But I will throw on the same fake news hat. The hat is fake. The news is real. That I told you guys he definitively was not playing in week 2, and I was not sure if he was playing in week 3. I'm now telling you, barring something unforeseen happening, he's playing in week 4. So I don't think they're fixed, to be clear. But I do think after week 1, I was terrified about the pass defense. That has slowly but surely improved. I was frustrated that Patrick still wasn't throwing the ball downfield. That has improved. It does appear that Tyquan Thornton might be an interesting piece. That is positive. Xavier coming back. That is positive. Rice, excuse me, Rice will be back. That will open things up for Travis. And then, this is the part of the team that right now is the shakiest and the least inspiring, is the running back room. And this is where I wonder if Brett Veach is going to look at a few teams that are going nowhere. Those teams being the New York Jets with Breece Hall, the Miami Dolphins with Devin Achane, or, and this would be the dream, the New Orleans Saints with Alvin Kamara, and say, hey, would you guys like a draft pick for your running back? And if that happens, I think the Chiefs' offense can be remade mid-season. I love, actually, how the rookie left tackle has played. The right tackle, Juwan Taylor, has been good when he's not being penalized. And there are real building blocks here. And now they also have an opportunity to put the Ravens in a bit of a tailspin. And to where they're not the team everyone's panicked about. Now, if they lose to the Ravens, which is certainly on the board, they are staring at being 2-4 when Rashid comes back. Because you lose to the Ravens, it's very hard to then say you expect them to beat the Lions. But they do have the Jags in between then, and I have not been impressed by the Jags thus far this year. But I think this could have gone left on Kansas City. And I think it was going left when that ball was bouncing around the MetLife turf and it looked like it was about to be 13-6 Giants. And then Patrick made what I believe, and we can come back and check on this, what will go down as one of the most important regular season plays of his career. And I think that they've at least been steadied. Before we get to the other follow-ups, Damonza, go to the chat question if you would.
Bryce asked, Nick, let's say the Chiefs are a lesser version of last year, not flashy, but get into the playoffs at the 5 spot out in round 2. Do they still get the benefit of the doubt next year with this same start?
No. If the Chiefs go 10-7 and lose in the divisional round and then start next year poorly, then we say, okay, like they're in a transition phase. But when they are literally still in the midst of the most successful 7-year period any team has had in the history of the sport, it's, to me, 2 games was too quick of a trigger. And it is,
and then not even having like their full strength of roster.
Correct. And now, to be fair, like Danny said this on the show yesterday, and he's right. Some of the problems for the Chiefs are not solved by getting receivers back. Like the running back problem is not solved by that. The pass rush problem is not solved by that. So it's not all that, but that's part of it. But here's another, I think, fun or interesting fact. So the Chiefs have made 7 straight AFC championship games. The only team in league history to make more than 7 consecutive conference championship games is the New England Patriots from 2011 to 2018. They made 8 straight, okay? And it's kind of perfect because the Patriots made every championship game in the AFC from 2011 until 2018. In 2018, they played the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And from that moment, the Chiefs have made every AFC Championship game. So from 2011 to 2024, in the Chiefs and the Pats have played in every single conference championship game. Exactly right. In that 8-year stretch, Damonza, where the Patriots made 5 Super Bowls, won 3, and made 8 straight conference championship games, they started 2-2 half of those seasons. 4 of the 8 years, they started 2-2. Now, didn't start 1-3, and so Kansas City, you know what I mean? This is a big game on Sunday. But 2-2 is not a problem. And 2-2, if it comes with a win over the Ravens, will make you feel very good. All right, let's get to the follow-ups here.
Kelsey had another sideline outburst with Andy Reid. Are you nervous about this? Is this becoming a thing?
So listen, Andy at halftime said that the team needed some juice. Here's what Andy said after the game.
He's a passionate guy, and I love that part. So I've been through a lot of things with him, so that's all part of it. I love that he loves to play the game. That's what I love, and it's an emotional game. So I'll take it.
So here's the deal. Do I understand the frustration that this is what's right. We're honest about this stuff. that there is a level of passion that white athletes are, get away with and not be, painted with a broad brush that black athletes are not. I totally get that. Do I think that there is that whether it be Tom Brady screaming at Bill O'Brien or Travis Kelce literally bumping Andy Reid during a Super Bowl that plays differently, if a lot of things aren't true. It's not just that they're white, but that helps, but also that they're all-time legends and they're great. And you know what I mean? That they've won. All of that is in the stew of what we're going to freak out about or not versus George Pickens throwing his helmet. I get that piece of it. And I understand that people think that's unfair. I get that. The distinction that I am going to draw, and this is not an excuse or even an explanation, it's just a reality, is when people are trying to use this as evidence something is wrong with the Chiefs, something is off. The point that I will make is when it comes to Travis, he's always been this way. This is a guy who in his second year in the league had a ref throw a flag at him, and he picked up the flag and threw it back at him. This is a guy that in the first padded training camp practice after the Chiefs won a Super Bowl 3 years ago, punched a teammate in the helmet.
I rewatched that video last night. That dude didn't even do nothing. That
guy
did nothing to him.
That was right. You're talking about the training camp punch.
Yeah, when he punches him in the helmet, the guy just literally poked at the ball. The guy did nothing.
Yeah. It's a teammate at training camp coming off a Super Bowl. And then Travis went on his pod, said he's got to be better. And if I remember correctly, the next week did it again. Hit another teammate. This is a guy who during the Super Bowl almost knocked Andy Reid to the ground. Early in the Super Bowl, they won. And in this instance, he, in week 1, headbutted Jawan Taylor.
Yeah.
And in this instance, Andy hits him.
Right.
I'm just going to be, this was not Travis hitting Andy again. This was not elder abuse. This was Andy bumping Travis.
Yeah.
And so.
Lock in, buddy.
Right. For real. And so I'm not excusing it. I'm simply saying he's been this intense for a decade. And to me it is, and listen, is there extra frustration for the Chiefs right now about the offense? No doubt about it. Do I think that led to Mahomes having 2 lateral backward passes in that game? Like a little on edge. I do think that. Has that maybe led to Mahomes missing some passes? Sure. But it just is what it is. And I think that because of Andy's disposition and it's very weird. Weird's the wrong word. Interesting what bothers and doesn't bother Andy. And he is so much more bothered by someone getting an illegal formation penalty for lack of attention to detail pre-snap than he is by Kelce losing his shit on the sideline. And so that's where I stand on it. I don't think if people think it's a double standard I have or whatever, people can think whatever they want. I'm just being honest about what I think about it and how I think it impacts or doesn't impact the Chiefs. And so that's where I stand on that. And as far as Chris Jones, if people didn't see it, he evidently has been trying to get Russell Wilson's jersey for years. Russ has never given it to him. And then he was asked after the game if he tried again, and Chris said, I don't want it anymore. I would love to know the real story behind that. Why Russ wouldn't give it to him.
Oh, why Russ
wouldn't
give it to him. Oh, my
yeah,
bad.
no, listen, no, all-time great players want, other all-time
100%.
great. Yeah,
But Russ,
and it's weird because Chris is an all-time great. And so I don't know why Russ wouldn't give it to him.
Russell Wilson isn't necessarily a player's player, right?
Yeah, but does he not jersey swap with anybody? I don't know. Because there's a really... Have you seen the video of Myles Garrett talking to Roger Rosengarten of the Ravens when Rosengarten was a young player? He's still relatively young, but I think it was his rookie year. It's one of the coolest Myles Garrett videos ever. It's so awesome. After a Ravens-Browns game... Oh, Russ changed jerseys with Mahomes, evidently. Mahomes looks like his rookie year or his second year. All right, so Roger Rosengarten, who's a tackle for the Ravens, goes up to Myles Garrett after a game and says, like they're doing the handshakes or whatever, he's like, hey, man, I know I'm a nobody, but is there any way I could get that jersey from you? And Myles Garrett said, hey, it was like sincerely was like, hey, man, you're in the league. Your team's winning games. You're doing your thing. You're not a nobody. And he's like, yeah, I got you. And it was like Rosengarten was legit thrilled about it. And it was so cool of Myles Garrett after a game undoubtedly that his team had lost. And but also recognize kind of his standing in the league. Like, I'm a standard bearer. I'm an all-time great. This kid wants my jersey, and I'm going to lift him up. I thought it was a really cool Myles Garrett moment. The producers are putting a bunch of pictures in the chat of Russ doing jersey exchanges. But listen,
only
in Russell Wilson's defense, maybe he only does quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's just quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing it with Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Kyler Murray. I don't know. And he also did one with DK Metcalf, but DK was a former teammate. I don't know. I got to tell you, I can't figure this one out. All right, before we get to the other stuff, let me remind you guys, SeatGeek helping us out, and SeatGeek helping me out, actually, because, did I tell you guys this? I'm going to the Ryder Cup this weekend. Oh, my goodness. Bethpage Black, Ryder Cup. So here's the deal. I'm going with some friends. Somebody hooked me up with tickets. This is an instance where you hit up the agent and you're like, hey, can I get some tickets? And they helped me out. So shout out to Ryan and my folks at UTA and Clutch and everybody. But I have friends who want to go too. And I might have overstated how easy it was going to be to get a bunch of tickets to Saturday Ryder Cup. So you know what I'm going to end up doing, as I have done before, when I tell people, oh yeah, I'll be able to get you a ticket, and then realize I don't have quite as much juice as I thought. I use SeatGeek. Today's sponsor today's video, SeatGeek. Over 28 million downloads. SeatGeek's #1 rated ticketing app. More than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. NFL season's here and the MLB playoffs approaching. Now is the perfect time to get to a game. I love using SeatGeek. Again, I just told you guys about the Ryder Cup. Here it is right here. Ryder Cup tickets for Saturday. Which club do we want to be in? What do we want to do? Again, these are the tickets for a friend, so he might not be the VIP access tickets, but we'll get them on the grounds. There it is right there if you want to see how you can do it. It's so simple. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket's rated on a scale of 1 to 10. You know you're getting a good deal. Look for the big green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. So, help me out, guys. You can use code WRIGHT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code WRIGHT10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you so much to SeatGeek. All right, Damonza, let's do Eagles-Rams.
Yeah, so what the heck is going on over there in Philly? Hurts was 4 for 8 and threw for 18 yards at halftime, and then finished the game with 226 yards and 3 touchdowns. So what's going on over there? Why is Sirianni and the offensive coordinator kind of putting shackles on the offense?
It's so weird. Because Sunday's game was really bizarre. And if not for Sean McVay, as great of a coach as he is, being so conservative so consistently when it comes to fourth down stuff, the Rams might have simply put the game away early on. And obviously, the Eagles needed 2 blocked field goals in the fourth quarter to come away with what really is a 1-point victory, but will go in the books as a 7-point victory, which will go down as an all-time bad beat for Rams plus 3.5. Just an all-timer. But this is not just something to watch, but something that's pretty fascinating, which is the new offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, and or Nick Sirianni simply don't want to let Jalen throw the ball and only did it when they had no other choice.
I think they're trying to play mistake-free, like limit.
I get that, but Saquon's not having a good year.
Right.
Now, it's early, but of the 5 least productive games of Saquon's career with the Eagles, 3 of the 5 have been weeks 1, 2, and 3, right? Week 1, they're in a dogfight, can lose. Week 2, they're in a dogfight, can lose. Week 3, they're down huge. So it's not like last year where Saquon's crushing everyone, they're blowing people out, why change what we're doing? It hasn't been that. And they still are treating Jalen Hurts passing as if it's break glass in case of emergency. It's really odd. And while Jalen had more passes of 10 plus yards down the field in the second half Sunday than he had in the the first 10 quarters of the season. And so A.J. Brown wants them to throw the ball more. I think Jalen wants them to throw the ball more. His post on the field interview
he was happy.
And it seemed to imply like, we can do this if you'll let me. And so it is just something to watch and something interesting because you're not used to seeing a team. In fact, it's almost unprecedented for a team that has a great quarterback, which Jalen Hurts is supposed to be, to look at passing like they call the games like the Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry Titans, where it's like, and that team, by the way, also had A.J. Brown, but where it's like, I guess if we have to. And so that is unique to me, I guess, and something to watch. And I wonder how it changes this weekend against the Buccaneers. All right, what else you got here?
Yeah, you called this year's Eagles last year's Chiefs. Do you care to explain that?
Yes, I will explain it. Hold on. One of my AirPods just died. Let me see if I can get it back going again. Talk to me real quick, Damonza. Let me see if
yeah, Chiefs.
if I
1-2.
got you. Yeah, I've got it. Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah. So, to me, it's pretty obvious. They are undefeated in the standings, but winless in hypothetical scenarios. If CeeDee Lamb could catch, if Travis Kelce doesn't bobble the ball, if the field goal doesn't get blocked, they are now to a place where opposing fans are Zapruder filming their games to be like, missed call. What about this? Here's a foul.
A little different with that team, with that stupid play.
What do you mean?
Well, it's just like I think that people are going to be like, "Where's the flag at?" when they've got that unstoppable tush push. Like people are watching that closely, and they want. Like I think with this team, it's a little different.
Hold on, more on that in a second. But no, people were doing it on like they're like AJ Brown pushed off on his touchdown. They're giving him the full, not the full conspiracy treatment, but the full pouring over it with a fine-tooth comb treatment. Their fans feel like the team is constantly disrespected, even though they're high in the Super Bowl odds and everybody talks about them as a great team. And they literally won a game with a blocked kick. Like the Chiefs did against the Broncos. So there's a lot of similarities in that regard. Now, when it comes to the tush push, or as I have coined it, did you see this? This is one of my...
What have you coined it?
Well, it's not the tush push anymore. It's the tush push when other teams do it. Because did you see the Saints try to do it and they got called for a false start? And they did. Yes. The Saints did it early in their game, got called for a false start. The Eagles did it early in their game, did false start and didn't get called for it. On the broadcast, Mike Pereira pointed out, yeah, that same right guard, he's false starting again, which is why it's no longer the tush push, Damonza, when Philly does it. It's the early bird. Come on.
It's the early bird. That's a good one.
The early bird. That's a good one. It's the early bird. They can do it, only they can do it. And so years ago, they tried to get brotherly shove going, so it was like Philly related. It didn't take on. The early bird's going to take on. All right, let's get to some of these other games. My God, there's so many games. We're going to have to do these fast, buddy.
So the Chargers, first 3-0 start since 2022, and Herbert has
since
third
2002.
best.
Hold on, since 2000.
Oh, holy crap. Numbers.
That's a long time.
Yeah, 2002, guys. So he's got the third best odds to win MVP right now. Denver, on the other hand, they have not started off great. You've already taken your victory up there. You said you didn't like that preseason debate on them.
Yeah.
Bigger story is the Broncos' early struggles or the Chargers' hot start.
Well, for most, it's the Chargers' hot start. And listen, Chargers look great. Defense looks amazing. Herbert didn't really play great this weekend, but he made the play to win the game. And this was Herbert's least productive game, but it also had his most iconic play, and that play up to this point is, I think, the offensive play of the NFL season, is that Herbert throw after the Chargers had blown the lead to get them back. I think that tied the game, and then obviously they win it on the field goal. Chargers are going to be someone to deal with. Now, the injuries are starting to mount a bit, and you always worry about that with the Chargers, but there's obviously someone to watch. The Denver thing, though, for me is the story, because I took so much shit from annoying Denver media and fans about being scared of them, about not respecting them, about all of this, when through 3 games, they are the exact team I told you they would be. A very good defense whose offense and quarterback cannot cut it against good teams. And up to this point in the season, they beat the Titans, lost to a 3-0 Colts team, and lost to a 3-0 Chargers team. And Bo Nix has been shaky the entire season. Made a few really nice plays and missed a bunch of wide open guys. And this wouldn't be something to harp on except for 2 facts. One is, if you remember, Damonza, when I said that I thought the Broncos were going to finish last in this division and the Broncos weren't going to make the playoffs, I baked into it that I thought they might get off to an excellent start. That I was like, oh, people are going to be throwing stuff in my face early, and then late in the year, when the schedule goes Chiefs, Commanders, Raiders, Packers, Jags, Chiefs, Chargers, that's when the fall-off's going to happen. Fall off, they might not get there before the fall off happens. So that's one reason. The other one is Sean Payton said this was one of 7 teams he ever coached that he thought actually could win the Super Bowl. For the record here, guys, Sean Payton coached the New Orleans Saints for 15 years. So he told us this is better than nearly a dozen of his Saints teams with Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see it. And I think the Broncos have a great defense, a coach who bit off a little more than he could choose expectation-wise, and a limited quarterback. That's what I thought going into the year. And by the way, I also had to hear all offseason, he's like, oh, what about the additions of Hufanga and Greenlaw? And I said, listen, those are 2 excellent players who have had trouble staying healthy. Thus far, Hufanga's been really good. Greenlaw hasn't played a game for them. All right, let's get to Browns-Packers, please.
All right, everybody was drunk on Green Bay. That hit a little snag with that Browns loss this weekend. They allowed 13 straight fourth-quarter points. After the game, Parsons said, undefeated seasons, they're hard in the NFL, and sometimes, just like today, you S the bed. Even the best Super Bowl champs make mistakes. Clearly, the team's expectations have not changed. Have yours at all after seeing that game?
No, listen, no, and in fact, this was a game that kind of confirmed to me my take when they traded for Micah, which is that Jordan Love's the most intriguing player in the NFL this year because they have the pieces to be a true A-list contender. Jordan just can't screw it up. And in that Browns game, he screwed it up. That Browns defense is excellent. I'm not even going to kill the Packers for not being very productive on offense. I'm not going to kill Jordan Love for not being productive on offense because they didn't need to be. What he needed to do was not make a mistake. And when you're up 10-3 with a few minutes left and the Browns have done nothing on offense the entire game, all you can't do is throw a pick in your own territory. And that's what he did. And people are going to get on Micah about getting ahead of himself. The Packers defense was excellent in that game. The Packers defense allowed, yes, they allowed a touchdown at the end, but that drive started at the 4, thanks to the pick. All you have to do is not turn the ball over. Now, to Jordan's credit, he did drive them then back down the field for what should have been the game-winning field goal, but that got blocked in the weekend of blocked kicks. If Jordan Love can just be steady, the Packers can beat anybody. But when he in his career, they're 14-4 when he doesn't turn the ball over and have I don't remember exactly what it is, but a really bad record, losing record when he does. Just don't turn the ball over, bro. And if you have to get in a shootout, I think he has the talent to win some shootouts, but that wasn't one of those games. Hey, you ever sign up for a phone plan thinking, wow, amazing price. Then a few months later, surprise, your bill's higher. Boost Mobile. You pay $25 a month forever. That's unlimited talk, text, and data. Starting at just $25 a month. No price hikes, no contract, forever. Plus, Boost Mobile is now a legit nationwide 5G network. They've invested billions building 5G towers across the country. Visit boostmobile.com or head to your local Boost store today and get unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month forever. 5G speeds not available in all areas. After 30 gigs, customers may experience lower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan. All right, Damonza, let's get to Cowboys Bears before we get to our quick hitters.
So my guy Caleb Williams threw for nearly 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's my guy now. I'm taking him from you.
Wow.
He's no longer your guy. You gave him up.
Wow.
But it was against that lowly Cowboys defense. Do you think that we learned anything new about Caleb Williams in this game? Best game of the starter.
It was obviously a super positive game. Obviously, the Cowboys defense is going to give a lot of guys great games, but Caleb took advantage of it, and we've seen steady progression. And now the Bears have a chance. They play the Raiders on Sunday. Then they have the bye. Beat the Raiders, get your bye, and then you know who they play week 6, Damonza? The team that ended their year last year. Jaden and the Commanders on the Hail Mary. You know what I mean? So it's a good flip the narrative opportunity for them.
Will Jaden be there?
And say it again?
Will Jaden be in that game?
I would imagine, because Jaden missed week 3. That game is week 6. I don't think Jaden's going to miss 4 weeks with his knee sprain. You know, and so I would imagine he'll be there.
That's a good chance for Caleb.
Damonza, is Jaden your guy?
Oh yeah, Jaden's my guy too. I like.
Okay,
yeah,
you can't have two from the same draft class. Everybody knows.
All right, so I'll take Jaden. You had Caleb originally. You got it.
Yeah, and so that Caleb, as CJ Stroud's teaching everybody, life can come at you fast in this league, and narratives can flip fast. And so, this is a really good opportunity for Caleb. Now, you don't want to get over your skis about it, but he was excellent in that game. And the Cowboys are just a mess. And now CeeDee Lamb, by the way,
bangled.
The Nick Wright injury inflation calculator stays undefeated. CeeDee Lamb, initial reporting, high ankle sprain but escaped major injury. Latest reporting, he's going to miss at least 2 weeks, maybe 4. So the Cowboys, this can get away from them in a hurry. They are a 64-yard field goal against the Giants away from being 0-3. And without CeeDee Lamb, this offense isn't going to be able to keep up, and the defense is awful. And so Trayvon Diggs is not right. Bland is hurt. They don't have a pass rush. Cowboys might be cooked here. And so they're going to put it all on Dak's shoulders, and Javonte Williams been decent. But I don't know how much I trust the Cowboys' ability, to get to 6 wins, much less be a real playoff contender. All right, before we get to, 60 seconds-ish on every other game, let me remind you guys about my friends at HOF who helped me write my own ending to this weekend's football. Smart bettors rely on data. HOF hands you powerful analytics at your fingertips to tilt the odds in your favor to help you say goodbye to missing that one leg of your parlay. HOF gives you all the probabilities and insights you need to succeed by using historical data and matchup grades, trends, and player performance insights. HOF's Parlay Optimizer lets you know which parlay legs look risky so you can adjust before game time and maximize your chances of hitting with confidence. HOF crunches millions of data points in seconds, so whether you're building a single game parlay or picking a money line, they can let the stats help guide your decisions. Send your plays from HOF directly to your sportsbook app with one click to save time. HOF is trusted by winning bettors as well. Over 1 million total users and a rating of 4.9 stars out of 5 on the App Store based on over 7,000 reviews. For a limited time only, our listeners not only get 7-day free trial, but they get 50% off their first month when they use code WRIGHT at checkout. 7-day free trial and 50% off your first month when you use code WRIGHT right at checkout. Download the HOF app on iOS or Android, enter code RIGHT, and you're all set. All right, Damonza, we're going to quickly go through these games, you and me. Bills-Dolphins Thursday night. It was very odd to me that after that game was the day people, Greeny and others came out with the Josh Allen's the greatest player I've ever seen take. I thought Josh Allen was fine in that game. Yeah. They were, that story to me was about the running backs, and it was about Tua just not having the juice. They did everything they could in that game to be competitive, and then the roughing the punter is just a killer. But despite that, they had a chance, and Tua just threw an inexplicable pick, and now everyone in Miami's got to be like, man, why is this the guy?
Focus a little bit.
Right.
I'm looking at McDaniel.
But McDaniel, here's the deal. I think McDaniel signed off on giving Tua that money, but they're in brutal shape. Bucks escape again against this was a weird one because the Bucks were kicking a field goal to ice the game, up 26-20. It gets blocked and returned for a touchdown. All of a sudden, they're down 27-26. The Bucks and Baker then do what the Bucks and Baker do, drive down the field. I did not get the Baker live bet in, shamefully. There's too much going on in that moment. The Bucks win, but it was a costly win. They are now down, Damonza, currently 3 offensive linemen, one of their best pass rushers. Mike Evans, tweaked that hamstring. Right, and now they play Philly. But the Bucks have to feel amazing that despite all these injuries, they're 3-0 with 3 final minute wins, and now they've given themselves a little margin of error. The Colts blasted the Titans. This is one of the worst. I had 3 of the worst bets I've ever had on this show. This was one of them. I picked
the Titans
the Titans plus points, said they could win outright. The game starts with a pick 6. And it is just unbelievable. The Colts look really, really good.
What do you think about Danny?
I mean, he's been awesome.
Hey, there's something there, and there is something to be said about his calmness in the pocket. Like the dude really will just sit there and get rid of it. He doesn't panic. Yeah, I like it.
So, listen, I don't believe that this Colts thing is sustainable, but I have to be fair. They've been unbelievable. They've been now. Part of it is playing the Titans and the Dolphins, but still, like 3-0 is 3-0, and they look great. The Jags beat the Texans. The Jags did not look good. They do not yet know how to use Travis Hunter, which is so disappointing. And the Texans, Damonza, have allowed 51 total points. They've allowed 51 points, and they're 0-3. The defense they're the first team in 20 years to allow fewer than 55 points through 3 weeks and not have a win. And CJ's just a shell of himself. And that
he had himself at top 3 quarterbacks in the league after his first year in the league.
Man,
first year. He was after.
He did a lot after that first year. Did that world tour with Micah. Was given, was coaching up Caleb as a young fella after week 2, and it's just he's got to be better. That offense has to be better, and I'm ready to just say the Texans are done. Like 0-3, I just think they're done. The Steelers beat the Patriots in one of the worst football games ever played. The Patriots turned the ball over 5 times. The Aaron Rodgers did not play very well in that game, but it didn't matter. The Patriots moved the ball. That Steelers defense, good for them for forcing turnovers, but I do not believe in that team. And I think they're going to go overseas. Yes. I mean, the forcing the turnovers is good, but the Pats don't know how to win, and I think the Steelers have looked incredibly shaky to be 2-1. Commanders beat the Raiders in a game hand up that I didn't watch much of because Jaden wasn't playing, and the Raiders right now just can't block. Credit to Geno for making, moving the ball somewhat. Ashton Genty still now has more yards after contact than he has total yards, and the Commanders get a nice win with backup quarterback. This is another one of my worst bets ever. I had the Falcons laying 5 on the road. They get beat 30-0. Bryce didn't even really play well. Bryce had like 140 yards. This was Michael Penix was awful. Just awful. And that's a concerning one. That's a horrible loss for the Atlanta Falcons. The Vikings defense makes Jake Browning look just horrific. That defense looked amazing. The Vikings also oddly ruled out J.J. McCarthy for week 4 right after that game. That was curious to me, but they're rolling with Wentz for this overseas game against Pittsburgh. The Seahawks beat the Saints by 1 million. I didn't watch that game. I know the Saints are a mess. I thought the Panthers were the worst team in football. It looks like it's the Saints. And the 49ers and Mac Jones despite a late Mac interception, get the stop they need against the Cardinals and then drive down for a field goal. They're 3-0, but they lose Nicky Bosa for the year. That's the whole rest of the league we didn't talk about. Also, Ben Simmons, I got to tell you, they went fishing. The people that listen to this show a lot know I love fishing. I'm a little jealous. That fish in the bottom right, I have caught one of those. The other 3 fish that he caught, I have not. And the one in the top right looks amazing. That's not the one that that's me a long time ago. But that fish in the top right looks sick. The fish in the bottom right, I think I've caught one of those, at least from where it looks like here. All right. Trey asked me, Damonza, I'm going to do these real quick. Is my Ryder Cup pick USA or Europe? It's USA, obviously, because I'm going to it. Benjamin asked, do I have any recommendations for raising a child to be a sports fan? I'm from Minnesota, but living in Chicago. Would love him to root for my teams, but won't want to push him. He's your kid. One of the few things in life you get to decide is what teams your kid roots for as a kid. Make them root for your teams. Like that, and then as an adult, if they want to change, they can change. And Daniel says he's a loyal Cardinals fan. What does Arizona need to succeed and win their division? Listen, I like the head coach, and I like what they're building defensively. Most important thing right now is Marvin Harrison Jr.'s got to get back to being Marvin Harrison Jr. Speaking of that, Chris says, did Jim Harbaugh body swap Quentin Johnson, Marvin Harrison Jr.? It's unbelievable. The Marvin Harrison Jr. fall off I did not see coming. All right, I've got to go. So like, rate, subscribe, review to the pod that we are organically growing. No bots here. We're not buying pages. Also, I'll be on with Colin in about 90 minutes. Justin Herbert's on with Colin in like an hour, so that's pretty cool. Then first things first at 3. See you guys all then. What's right?